your chest was this is shift now, shift the tables to the wall. I mean, when I say tables to the wall, chairs to the wall. Put your yellow on your table well. Make yourself presentable for them. Women, you have scattered your table. Sorry, man. No, shift it towards you. There should be enough space. Yes, yes. Excellent, excellent. Excellent, excellent. The yellow thing should be neatly on the table. I don't want, see, if you make mistake, forget what you want to say, just add something from, do you understand? Because there's no time, and they want to see the best. They're going to be the ones to choose the best. So, just, that's why it is just one statement, one paragraph. One paragraph. Okay? All right, so we want to welcome our legislators. Colonel, are you ready? Are you covering? You take their movement from they should take them walking up the stairs.
Hello, students. Hello. Yeah, so my name is Samuel Sipori. Today I'll be reading
Can we give them a round of applause? Don't stop now, they can't believe it. we feel so excited to have you all. Sit down, students. Good morning, students. Okay, so today you have a wonderful opportunity to have your legislators here. This is one of the most beautiful days for you. As you said, most of you have never. How many of you have spoken with your legislators before, one-on-one? Let me see your hands up. So you see, we have just recorded 100% landmark support for young people to interface with their legislators. A round of applause for people. I'm going to send them that take those decisions that affect your lives. I am going to learn how to communicate. And we're going to be real quick to make sure, because they barely have time, and so we have to make sure we make this term as productive as possible for them. So we want to quickly introduce them to the high table, where they're already seated, and then they'll be joined by others. So we have, first and foremost, someone I want us to know is changing the narrative in Rivers State. He's changing, when I mean changing the narrative, students, he's changing it for real in practice and passion. And he is none other than our chairman, Committee on Environment, Rivers State House of Assembly. Please give me a round of applause on it. Now it's here. Give me a round of applause. Recognize it. Can you stand up? They've never seen your face before in their lives. They don't even know. Please, are you seeing him now? You see him? You can see you. Shift that your children see you. Okay, so are you able to see him now? So you are going to speak in his language. He's going to be hearing and speaking with you in the language he understands, and the language he expects that you understand as environmental advocates. Please, a round of applause for him. When he tells you 9 o'clock, it is what? When he tells you 10 o'clock, it is what? One of the lesson number 1 we are learning. And then the person sitting by him is none other. We are going to give him another rousing round of applause. The Chairman Committee on Environment, and is also here to support us in full terms. He is Honorable Isaiah Okwene, the Chairman, Water Committee on the Rivers State House of Assembly. Give him a round of applause. You may see him on the road and say, how is this very young child? But now see him. Look at him very much. Can you see him? You go back and tell mommy and daddy, principals and everybody, we saw them live. It's not like they pushed us away from talking to them. We saw them live. So thank you for honoring us with your presence. We are also recognizing the chairman, they don't call him chairman, mayor of Port Harcourt, and of course the chairman of the local government here. Since I know we have this rep here waiting to continue. Please can we welcome the chairman here to the high table, please. The chairman, the mayor of Port Harcourt is to the high table. A round of applause for the mayor of Port Harcourt. Also here as governing up as the chairman, as the local government of Nigeria. So we have represented here, and then want to also take to the high table CSSE. We're going to take CSSE also to the high table. CSSE want to recognize you. Please give him a round of applause. CSSE to the high table as well. And access to the high table, please. Thank you so much. Yes, you have to watch them now. This one is now for you to watch them, no more for you to teach them. It's time for you to watch. Please, a round of applause for your reps. Okay, so we also have none other but the FGGC rep as well. Let's see you going. And then a round of applause for the FGGC rep. We cannot continue without recognizing all those that came with our honorables as well. So please, a quick word on their names as well.
Good morning, students. Good morning, everyone. Then it's later on part of SS2 members, Chairman House Committee on Environment.
My name is
the introduction has started. Your time starts now, and I'm looking at your eyes. The Lord is with you always in Jesus' name.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Clinton, Special Advisor to Foreign Member, House Committee Chairman.
Introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone.
I want to hear it loud and clear. You're talking to your honorable, so you have to be loud, you have to be clear, let them hear your words very well.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Aniche Buzuch Felicia, a student of Federal Government Girls College, Abdoma. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ali Chechitachi Pekulia, a student of Federal Government Girls College Abloma.
Your statement?
Those who have contributed to the least environmental degradation are often those at highest risk of experiencing its worst human rights impacts.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Adichie Twitch Felicia. Environmental degradation disproportionately affects the poor, women and girls, children, indigenous people, and persons with disability, respectively. Thank you.
My name is Bright or student of CSS Abloma.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Linus Fuller, and I'm a student of Niger Delta Science School. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights has placed the triple planetary crisis of nature loss, pollution, and climate change at the top of the human rights challenges in our era.
Morning, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Ibiso Granville. I'm a student of Niger Delta Science School, which can be abbreviated as NDSS. Now, after recording has been done, we can find out that an estimation of 1 to 6 premature deaths is caused by pollution, and tens of millions of lives are displaced by what? Climate change. And moreover, biodiversity loss is directly threatening the collapse of the entire ecosystem. Good morning, everyone. My name is Alabuka Treasure, a student of Niger Delta Science School. We need the international community to act with a single-minded purpose in order to deploy every single available resource to act and protect the human rights of healthy environments.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Winifred Hiekana. I'm a student of Niger Delta Science School. Failure to adhere to these challenges, denial is not an option. Delay is not an option. The latest reports of the Intergovernmental Panel makes it clear that their pathways leads to catastrophe. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Successful Okije. I'm a student of NDSS. Reality is ours. The UN system is for action and can lead to action.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Amadi Chibike. I'm a student of NDSS. Did you know that the Secretary General's call to action on human rights has brought together senior UN officials on human rights, environment, development, and children, among others, to advance human rights to a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment? Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Elitaya. Unfortunately, continuing and procrastinating of against inactions by the government and other duty bearers respect the protection of the environment has affected the environment and progress for the environment for all.
Everyone, my name is Raymond Chair.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ukafimo Mesoma from CSS Abloma. The subsidiary.
My name is Adrian Lovely from CSS Abloma. In addition to the recognition of the human rights, more than 150 countries have volunteered to protect the right to a healthy environment and recognized by their.
Very good. Next person.
Today, our dear legislators, my name is Paul Precious. As you all know, on the 8th of October 2021, we all recognize that all human affairs were actually there, and in everything we do in our day-to-day life, both the water we drink, the food we eat, the air we breathe, are all actually indeed in addition of the climate change. Thank you.
Morning, all. My name is Tony Confidence Ina. I'm a student of CSS Abloma. By recognizing the right to clean, healthy, and sustainable environment, the General Assembly could catalyze more ambitious, coherent, coordinated actions to protect the environment. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kuku Bright, and I'm a student of CSS Abloma. The recognition of all levels and of law and policy helps for a better condition of action and accountability. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Sarah Zipisa, and I'm a student of AGC Abloma. We call for the domestication of climate change as, and most importantly, we call for the Rivers State Action Plan for Gender and Climate Change. Long live Rivers State House of Assembly, long live Rivers Network for all NGOs, long live the Climate Change Club, all known as CC. Long live Nigeria.
Good day, everyone. My name is Ile Opson. I'm a student of MGC Abloma. In Rivers State, the youth are taking more action to realize the rights for our youth and peers. Our earth is in crisis, but if we support in supporting the Zero Suits campaign, we can preserve and protect what's left of it. We therefore call for the amendment. We therefore call for the help of the Environmental Protection Advance Bill, also known as SUIT Bill. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Esmuno Praise. The Human Rights Council recognition of the right to a healthy environment has generated an important momentum, and thus further recognition can magnify this impact.
Good day, everyone. My name is Omedi Banchabaka. I'm a student of MGC Abloma. This is the approach we need to achieve sustainable development through all management.
My name is Imran Olumachukwu. I'm from MGC Abloma. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change have vulnerable situations for people who are vulnerable, and they can also add to the environment. Thank you.
Give yourselves a round of applause. This is the tip of the iceberg, and because we're working with very tight schedules and we want to recognize that they have time limited for this activity, we also have to move with real speed. But I hope that you have made your messages clear to your legislators. I want to hand over to somebody very important in the house. We have the Globe International rep here with us, and then we also have, he's wearing many caps, but it's good to take us through the entire process. And I'm sure by the time we finish, we should have a very productive session. Thank you, legislators, for being here today. Thank you, students. Thank you, everybody. And we hope to have a very fantastic day. Once again, my name is Dr. Mina Omanga. I'm the president for the Nigerian Network of NGOs, and I'm also here representing the UNFCCC. Thank you.
Good morning, my dear speakers. Good morning, students. My name is Samosi Okore, and I'm part of the organizing team for GLOBE. So GLOBE is the Global Legislators Organization for Balanced Environments, is recognized globally. And apart from that as well, I'm also a Climate Pact Ambassador for the European Commission, known as the EU. So I'm really glad to be here today with you. I had to leave my place of residence in Lagos to come down here for this particular occasion. And then also want to appreciate the parliamentarians as well that made that time to come for this wonderful occasion. We as students are going to be making deliberate projections and as well demand in addressing climate change issues facing not just Rivers State but the world at large. Before I came down to Rivers State, I've been hearing about suitcase and all that. So, and ever since I came down, all the transports I enter, I do ask what is happening in Rivers State, like what is going on, air pollution, environmental degradation, like what is going on. So I've been able to get a few surveys, a few things, and but we will not be focusing on that today. We'll be focusing on what we actually came here for, which is to demand more for climate justice, and as well project necessary policies that can be able to be considered by our parliamentarians here in addressing climate change issues in Rivers State and the world at large. And then this program is a global legislators organization program that is in Nigeria, but based in over 60 countries in the world. And then we also have people joining us visually. We have the president, the coordinator for Globe Nigeria, who is Nnameka, is online. So Nnameka, I don't know if you will like to say something before I proceed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sam. Can you hear me? Am I audible enough? Can you hear me clearly? Clearly?
Please, can you unmute? You can hear me.
I've unmuted myself. Can you hear me? Hello?
Sorry.
Can you? I'm actually talking. All right, see what will happen. If you can't hear me clearly, I would allow you continue so that
He's unmuted, but he can't hear me. Check your audio.
If you can't hear me properly, I should allow you to go.
Even if it's loud. Okay, Nnameka, we can't hear you. I don't know what. Probably later we get to figure out and bring you on. Yes. That is cool. Okay, thank you. So today we'll be talking about climate change and then possible solutions. And you are going to be making deliberate decisions today. And we also have a drafted communique that students are going to be signing those communique. Once they read what it's all about, they're going to be appending. Once they read what it's all about, they're going to be appending signatures in regards to that communique. So first of all, how many of us know what climate change is all about? We are going to be working with time so that our parliamentarians can also give their address and they can also take their lead. So I would like from each school, one person from each school to just, or two persons from each school within the space of 1 minute, just tell me what you understand by climate change. Okay, so that our parliamentarians here get to know that you know what climate change is all about, right? So who is going? Just so you want to understand, you don't need to give me like a generalized definition, you know. You have 1, 2. What's the school? Yes, Abloma. Okay. So who else? 1. Who is the next person? Need the balance. 2. Okay. What school? NGSS, SS Abloma, NGSS. So who else? Who else from this? Where's the school? Okay, 1. Who else? 1. Who else? What's the name? So who is the next person? Let's be fast so we get to. Who is the next person? Who else? Who else? Okay, let's take from CSS Abnoma. Okay.
Climate change is referred to a long-term shift in temperature and in weather patterns. This shift may also be occurred by a natural occurrence such as solar system.
Okay. And just to emphasize, and like you said, climate change is a long-term shift in what? Weather patterns, right? In temperature and in what? Okay, good.
Climate change is the shift in temperature and weather pattern. It could be negative or positive.
Negative or positive? Okay.
Climate change is the shift of a natural atmospheric condition due to man activities.
That's cool. That's wonderful.
Okay, so climate change refers to when the weather, that's the average weather condition of a place, becomes different over a period of time.
Average weather condition of a place becomes different over a period of time. Okay.
The atmospheric condition over a long period of time due to some factors like temperature and humidity.
Okay, that is wonderful. Now, you all gave beautiful definitions, and this leads me to my next question. What activity do you engage in that you think exacerbates or leads to or influences the change in weather patterns? What activities? I'm not telling you the activities you feel you know, but what activities do you as individuals engage in your family, within your community, that you see, that you know that people engage that can lead to climate change? Please go in. Okay, so I just need you to just tell me that activity, so you don't have to make sentence with it, right? So who is going? Let me start from here. Who is going? Okay.
Okay, the activities are burning our breath.
Good. Okay, who else wants to go? Okay, now, have you born refugees before? Good. Okay, you? Bush burning, you born to bush before? Okay, good. Who else? Okay. Cutting down of trees. Have you cut down a tree before? Okay, in the village, right? Okay, good. Who else? Who else? Now, it's not the reason why I'm doing this is not because I want us to implicate ourselves actually. But I know you did this when you don't know that this actually leads to this, right? Am I correct? Yes. And even for some of us here, you don't actually know that using your car often, like the excessive use of your car, also leads to the change in weather patterns. So, for me, I feel I don't get to travel much, right? So the last time I came to Rivers State was, the last time I left Rivers State was 2014. And since 2014, this is my second time in Rivers State. So they're going to call carbon footprint, measuring carbon footprint. So trying to see how you can be able to contain a whole lot of things, right? So regardless of that, we have all seen that we as individuals contribute to climate change. So how many persons have planted a tree here before? How many? Wow, that is awesome. How many trees? 2. Good. How many? You've planted before. You planted 1. How many? 5. 3. Who else? 2. This is really beautiful. Who else? How many? 4. That's really awesome. Now, you see, engaging in these activities helps to negate the negative effects of climate change in our lives, in our environments, and even on the atmosphere. But it goes beyond that. There is actually something I wanted to present today, which I will do from my own slide here because of time, so we just have to be fast about it. It's called Youth Action for Climate Change Mitigation and Adaptation. I will speak on that briefly while we go into something that we'll be doing today. Because I know that for students, when you see your members of parliament, your parliamentarians, you may be actually feeling, hope this thing, if I want to say it, they may scold me. No. In fact, they actually want you to tell them, please make these decisions. Please engage in this kind of decisions so that it's going to count. Okay, so let's just go to students, youth action for climate change mitigation and adaptation. So today our agenda will be what is climate change, which you answered. Secondly will be what is climate change mitigation and adaptation. And the third one will be roles of youth in climate change mitigation and adaptation. And we'll have a UN negotiation process call to action. So we are done with the first one. So the second one is what is adaptation? So let me just make this bold Okay, good. So we have a whole lot of definition when it comes to adaptation, but I will bring it down to your own understanding. So I wouldn't read from there. And we have what's called mitigation. Okay. Now, for us as individuals, when you get to see like stuff like flood for the first time, can you be able to adapt? Can you adapt? When you see it for the second time, can you adapt? You can, right? Because of the first experience. But if nobody tells you what to do to adapt, can you adapt? Can you? No, you can't. Okay, who is saying yes? Okay, how can you adapt?
For example, Ade says once bitten, twice shy. In case of flood, when like the months in the year when the flood came, so you prepare yourself. Like, for example, now something bad happens to you and you know what caused it. Will you like it to be repeated again? No. So you plan for it.
Good. That's awesome. Good. Yeah, but let me give this brief story. Like I said, I left River State in 2014. So in 2014, before I left River State, we stayed in a flooded place. Okay. And I lived there for over 3 years. So I lived in a flooded house for over 3 years without knowing what the cause was and what to do. So you can actually know that this is flood, but you may not actually know the possible solutions. But the only solution or the only alternative you may have is once it floods, you just either you sacrifice your house or you keep packing the water out. So like 3 years, like I was just blank. Okay? Until we left that particular area to another place, that was when I realized that the water drainage channels are actually bad. So it prevented the easy passage of water, especially when it comes in a high velocity. Am I communicating? So if nobody tells you this is the cause, you may just be blank, maybe like, okay, let's stand feel. So I'm driving us towards adaptation right now. Okay, so we say that adaptation is a variety of actions that are meant to reduce or compensate for the effects or impact of climate change on Earth. So when we are talking about adaptation, we are telling you things to do in case the flood comes, you can be able to survive and you can be able to progress without it causing a whole lot of harm to you, to your family, and to your environment. Definitely it's going to flood, right? That's why in Africa, instead of we driving too much for mitigation, we call to strengthen adaptation and resilient approach mitigating climate change impact. Because once you strengthen adaptation and resilience, you will be able to mitigate easily. And once you mitigate, you can be able to transit. So the last word for climate change is called transition. So transition is when you've actually you've achieved the adaptation and resilience approach. You have mitigated a whole lot of things that gives way to climate change. So you are transiting into something that is more like a substitute, just like fossil. So you transit into something different. So for countries that depend more on fossil, they have to do a whole lot of adaptation policies, and transition phase becomes a gradual process before they arrive at that extent. So we have another one. So the other topic is rules of use in climate change mitigation and adaptation. As you are right now, this is actually the wonderful moment that you may listen to. So what are your rules? You know these problems. That's why we actually decide to hold this program, that we as well can demand for a form of accountability from our parliamentarians to tell them that yes, we are actually vulnerable to these changes that are happening in our environment, which they are also vulnerable to. However, we bring it to their consciousness and to their view that this is actually serious and our future depends on it. They as well make sustainable decisions that can facilitate and promote what you've projected as solutions in tackling or addressing climate change issues in Rivers State. So number one, we have advocacy. So as a youth, apart from every other thing you think you can do, you can actually advocate. You can advocate in so many forms. Okay, in your environment, you notice a flood, you can take a picture, right? If you have a platform, a social media platform, now that will call constructive advocacy and non-constructive advocacy. Constructive advocacy is when you project a problem and you are calling for solution. But non-constructive advocacy is when you project a problem and you are criticizing the problem and you are insulting people in the problem and you are not calling for any intervention. So what I encourage people to do is to engage in constructive advocacy, where you see a problem, you call for solution. And advocacy is also called appeal to conscience. So you call for solution by what? Appeal towards conscience. So the necessary authorities that you know they can be able to amplify your advocacy skills and look out for the necessary agencies that can actually address that particular problem, right? So the next one we have lobbying and negotiation, which is what we'll treat later. Lobby and negotiation, thereby, as we are here today, we are also engaging in a lobbying process with our parliamentarians, telling them that, okay, hello parliamentarians, we know you are the top, you can make decisions that influences us, and this is what we actually want, this is what you are looking for. And we hope that you can be able to consent to these appeals. Last year, I was in Abuja with the Federal Ministry of with the Minister of Environment last year in Abuja, and we had people from UK called the mock-up, so I was their spokesperson, and they told me that I should lobby for them. I should help them in lobbying, in submitting their high-level statement to the minister. So that was really awesome, and we get to meet with the minister, and we told her, okay, ma'am, we know that Nigeria has a whole lot of environmental policies. Regardless, we are also having some environmental impacts that we feel as individuals. However, we know that through this high-level statement, if submitted, it will help strengthen Nigeria's adaptation and resilient approach to tackling climate change impacts in the country, and as well project Nigeria at the forefront of countries that are working towards mitigating climate change impacts. And when they saw it, they were like, wow, this is really awesome, and it was adopted. So that is what lobbying can do. So when you are lobbying, you are not going to exchange muscle with people, but you are doing what? You are doing more of an appeal, you are doing more of a negotiation, you are doing more of a dialogue, trying to strike a balance, whereby you are not hot, the other person is not hot, but at the end of the day, everybody comes to a common consensus, strike towards a good resolution that favors everybody. So this word, consensus resolutions, are negotiation terms. Okay? So we have a call to action. So some of the call to action we have engage in tree planting. So we all know, everybody, like most people have planted a tree here. Okay, so you should engage in tree planting wherever you are. I'm also extending this to our parliamentarians here. Sir and Mars, we have to engage in tree planting. And for us, we can actually do it in a larger scale. You know, in our communities, we can just mobilize the youth, these nurseries, mobilize the youth, plant it on a larger scale. And once one beautiful thing about tree planting is when you do it, it comes with a whole lot of effort. But when you see it grow, that is where the joy comes out. I was in Osun State and we planted over 200 indigenous and domestic trees. These trees were actually threatened. So, but when we are actually planting it, I sustained some bruises on my hand, my two hands, like bruises. And there was a time, it was planted in a school, funny enough. So there was a time students came and I don't know the particular student, but I know it was group. They have to use an object to cut these nurseries. Like, and once we planted outside, they uprooted it. So I felt frustrated to an extent. But still, I have to be resilient, you know. I have to say this has to work. So we have to plant another one. We wrote to the ministry, and the ministry gave us 300 seedlings. So we have to plant another one. And if I'm opportunity to show you those trees today, they are actually big. Like, and when the teacher sees it, they are actually like, wow, so this can actually grow to this extent. It's not up to 7 months, but it's doing well. Like, you need to see them. And we also did an agroecology farm at the back of the school, where we planted cucumbers, watermelon, weedu, and a folder is Yoruba indigenous crops. And when we harvested the watermelons, and but the teachers were really amazed. They're like, so we can actually have cucumber in this school. So these are things that we can actually think about on how to promote sustainability in our schools. So apart from tree planting, we have talked to your community about climate change and engage them in climate change, in climate action. So talk to your community about climate change. You know, they say charity begins where? Charity begins where? Yeah, charity begins at home. So you talk to your siblings first. I know when I started this stuff, people are telling me I'm going crazy, you know. They're telling me, no. You are just doing the opposite thing. What is going to say this? Nobody, like, because then I hate when you dispose death indiscriminately. When you walk around, you drink your water and you just poof, floor. So it actually gets me annoyed. But that zeal, because of that zeal, we have to form a team in Cross River State, known as a Cross River State, and we implemented an act with the River State Commissioner of Environment, whereby he had to bring in environmental task force to enforce regulations and sanctions against people that dispose debt indiscriminately. Now, if I hadn't engaged with the Cross River State government, we wouldn't have had these results. So you have to talk to people. You don't have to keep it to yourself. I know at times it can be annoying, but you have to be polite so that you don't get yourself into any fraction with anybody. So if somebody disposes debt, please, you know, this thing you are doing, it's not good. If it rains, it goes to the river, from the river to the ocean. In fact, if it rains now, it goes to the gutter. From the gutter, the river channel is blocked. And once it's blocked, we have what? Flood. So people get to come to their consciousness that, okay, this is true. This is actually true. So I need to stop doing this, right? So we have number 3, engage with stakeholders and policymakers, which is what we're studying today. So today we're engaging with policymakers and stakeholders to discuss about climate change issues and way forward. Okay, like we said, this is a student MP climate surgery. Student MP climate surgery. MP means members of parliament. Okay, so for some of you that may be asking, what is the meaning of MP? MP means what? Members of what? Parliament. And we have our parliamentarians who are seated here. So the 5th one, we have organized climate strike and awareness campaign. So organized climate strike and awareness campaign. I'll be rounding up soon because I know we are working with time. Organized climate strike and what? Awareness campaign. So as a student, you may not be able to do it on your own. You may need guidance, right? And I know that we have climate club in schools that can actually teach you how to go about climate strike. You may not actually organize this in group. You may not actually organize it as an individual, but you can organize it in group. And also you can even organize it rather as an individual. You come to the road and you hold your placards. Climate change is real. That's an individual climate strike. You are striking against human-induced action that influences climate change. You can also go on the flood, stand here and also pose That's also an individual strike, a campaign calling for solution. You know, at COP26, a whole lot of people went to COP26 in Scotland, Glasgow, and for most people that went there, I saw it as them going for a survival for their community, not just for them traveling. Because if you have experienced firsthand, if you have had a first-hand experience of climate change, in fact, COVID-19 is one of the first-hand experiences that we have already seen, that we cannot hide from. COVID-19 is linked to what we call zoonotic disease, which is a disease that comes out of endangered white species. So when we hunt down white species, we are putting them into extinct, and we are also endangering our own lives. Because if there was no illegal white trafficking or interaction between man and this endangered species, we wouldn't have had COVID-19, which is a severe respiratory syndrome, like very severe. I had an experience of severe respiratory syndrome that was in 2018 and 17. And I was telling somebody, if this was 2020, I had this experience, definitely people would think that I have COVID-19. Because then in Cross River State, I struggled to breathe. So I had to take medications and all that. And it's because of what? Air pollution. Okay. So we have a whole lot of things that we can talk about. And the sixth one is brainstorm innovative solutions for climate-based works, innovative solutions. So don't just end yourself in tree planting. You can also talk about tech. How you can bring out tech that can measure carbon footprint. How you can bring out tech that can absorb carbon, that can trap carbon. Okay, tech that can trap carbon. Apart from tree planting, what else? But however, we know that tree planting is the only and most sustainable natural trapping of carbon, because it traps carbon massively. Okay, so that's we should also know. So I will just lastly we'll just talk about the negotiation. So climate change negotiation, the only way to achieve delegations' objectives through negotiation is to reach agreement with other delegations. Now, I got a scholarship by the United Nations to study on the UN multilateralism system, where you look at how UN was formed, the processes involved in the United Nations, their conferences and all that. And this was a full-paid course in Geneva, and you get to understand a whole lot of things about negotiations. So I will give us a practical section right now, so we don't get to spend time. We'll just use 10 minutes for this. We use 10 minutes for this, and we are done. Are we good to go? Are we good to go? So the first thing we have to do is, I will need from each school. I will need 3 people to volunteer from each school. From each school, I need 3 people. 1, 2. We should strike a balance with gender. Who is the third person? 3. Okay. So write the name of your school and place it on this desk so I get to know who is volunteering here. 3 people. 3 people, please. Let's be fast. 1, 2, 3. Write the name of your school and keep it here. Who is the third person? Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Write the name of your school and put it here. So now for your school, I want you to look for. I want you to tell me a specific problem your school you are interested in. Now, put your heads together, join your heads, and come up with a specific problem or what you want to solve. Join your heads together, the 3 of you. Okay? Why you people as well do the same thing? Join your heads together. You also do the same thing. Join your heads together. The problem or what you can identify as a problem. Because in negotiation, before you start off a negotiation, before you start up a negotiation, I work on iterative process, which is more like an informal process where you get to identify the problem, talk about the problem, and see if what we do as well is once you have identified it, discuss it with every member of your group to know if it's something they are saying yes to. Because the three of you now are identified as delegates or representatives representing your group, just like the House of Rep or the House of Assembly. When they are coming to make decision, what they are actually doing, they are representing their constituency in that regard. So when they are speaking, they are not speaking for their own self, but they are speaking considering the lives of people or the community or the constituency or the senatorial district or zone they are coming from. Please reduce your, just, you don't have to shout. Okay, we have limited time for this. The reason why we are doing this is because it was a special request and I honored it. So you have to know this so that tomorrow when you go out there, you can be able to know how to make necessary deliberations. Now, when you are done, if they accept it, if your group says yes to it, remember it must not be one, it may be two. You just give them an option, but if they say yes to it, then we move on. We have just 1 minute left. 1 minute. We have 1 minute left. We have 40 seconds. We have 45 seconds. We have 20 seconds. We have 15 seconds. We have to work with time because they won't give you the whole time. That's why I'm timing us. So you get to be deliberate. Now, just as you are deliberating, also listen to what I have to say. When as a parliamentarian or in the UN system, deliberation is something you do before you come out to present your proposal. Before you come out to tell them, this is what I want to do. Okay? Just like the House of Assembly, House of Rep and all that. Before they come out to say, this is what we are doing, they have to deliberate. Probably if there is a constituency unit or ward and all that, they have to talk about it. You have to also talk to people about it. Okay, so we are done with that. Now, the second phase is submission of a proposal. So you have to tell me what you have decided. So that particular problem you want to solve, now you are going to talk about at front of a proposal. I'll give you 1 minute for each of the school. So I will let you to select one delegate. So while you do that, let's give our parliamentarian the platform to speak to us as well.
Okay, very good. So what you're just doing is getting practical with how you come up with decisions, issues, priority needs. And so you have 1 second. 1 second to identify who will present for you. 1 second to identify who will present for you and who will present for you. But once again, we want to recognize that we're with real life legislators here with us. You understand? And are going to be speaking as well as we present. So who is representing you? Follow me right away. Who is representing you? Yes, come right away. You're going to be talking to somebody somewhere here who's going to become a senator, a House of Rep, a state assembly person in future in Jesus' name. So we'll see whether you do work better or worse. Now, who is representing you? So as we hand over to our parliamentarian to speak, we want to hear your proposals. You must know already what you need. So you're going to come and he's going to tell us how you're going to present that proposal very strategically. But I need them all to come out. Yes, you number one. Okay, good. And you number two. Who else?
From the 3 people we appointed.
I wish the way with the gender is balancing now is how to balance it as well. So, okay. No, but let's continue. Only women are coming to speak. Okay, so You're going to speak, right? Okay, so we're going to give the floor to the parliamentarians, and they are going to tell us how this works in this process and the advice before we do our presentation and before we do our strike for the group. All right, so they've given us permission to go ahead and so it just.
Okay, thank you so much. So thank you, my dear parliamentarian. So right now we are in the second phase. Oh, actually, just be. I didn't actually need them to come out, but we thought that he wanted to speak so that they will. Okay, so just go to your seats so that we just do this once on the floor. Okay, now while you are seated, I would like to know that your resolution is accepted by your group. Now, we are going to do something. I just want us to feel how the parliamentarians feel when at times their bill is being torn down, or when at times their bill is being accepted. Now, I'll give us a brief analogy. When I took this from the UN on multilateral system and all that, we saw betrayals in negotiations. You know, you could come out and you had to discuss with your team, with your group, what you actually want, and your group have to come out to say no. You know, so that's why I am actually making us to know this very well. And remember, you guys, once you pick somebody that is representing your group, okay, the rest of you become more like members that will say yes or no. And we'll not be going through the process of saying, reading number one, you go back, because in UN they have about 3 to 4 processes where you go, you make deliberations, and you come back, they pass the table round, and people get to pick, okay, yes, we are standing with this, because then they gave us, you have to do these numbers. So you have to say, okay, we have to do with colors. Are you picking red? Are you picking green? Are you picking this? So any color you pick, so the group have to go and discuss on the color they are going to pick. So if you pick white and I pick red, you know, another team is suffering it. But we'll just do a brief practical section here right now. Okay? So I'll give who is representing your group?
Well, how you submit a proposal to the house? That, you know, how to present the proposal.
Okay, so definitely before you make your, because I did mine based on US standard. Okay, so not like the Nigerian. So
okay, so let me do a little 1 second introduction. We have here, he's a US rep, a US legislative team, and also he represents the young people. That is why we're using young people for this in a lot of ways. He's a rep representative from the US. Now, what happens is, should we let them speak and you correct them, or would you like to tell them immediately how that process is concluded before? You're talking about the process. Yeah, they want to present the proposal before the strike. Before the committee, yes. Before the house, before the committee. Yes, it's before the committee. Yes. Before the committee. So now, please, this is a once in a lifetime, but this is a very strategic opportunity. You are hearing, there's no horse here, but you are hearing, you understand, from the person. I like to sit. You want to sit with them? Wow. Please give them a round of applause. No, in that case, so put it here. Let us sit. Yes. Okay. How would you like to do? Okay. All right. So here you go. Wow. So
good afternoon, students. As introduced, good afternoon, everybody. As introduced, my name is Honorable Dile Mao. I represent Buchanan State constituency in the Rivers State House of Assembly. I chair the Environment Committee. I'm a member of Appropriation Committee. I'm a member of the Sports Committee. I'm a member of the Public Petition and Complaint Committee. I was the first ad hoc committee chairman in the Ninth Assembly on public petitions. Now, this is my first time in the assembly. We are 3 years and some months now going. When you come to the assembly to present a bill or a motion or a report, you do it through committee or you go straight to a house through the member representing your constituency, or you could also approach a member you know, say, I have this petition, I have this bill, help me present it. Don't forget that it is only those who were elected to be members of that house that can enter the chamber. And when you enter into that chamber, you'll see the speaker seated up there. You see the clerk, you see the clerk at table, and then you have members. You also have rapporteurs on this other side. Then to your left, to your right, you have lawyers, because in the state assembly here, we have a legal department. We have more than 20 lawyers, over 20 lawyers there, and they are attached to each of the committees of the House. Now, for what we are doing here today, we're going to teach you how to present before a committee and at the floor of the House. Now, if it's a committee is chaired by a member of the House, like I am the Environment Committee Chairman now. The committee will set a date where the clerk of the committee will invite people to come. Maybe it's a petition we're handling, or it's special assignment given to the committee by the House. So the chair is the speaker during committee sittings. He has the right to sit with a mace, and he rules as the final arbiter on any position or concerns raised before the committee, even though members of the committee make their submissions. But most of the decisions we take at the committee level are based on majority decision. Each of the committees, we have 7 persons in each of those committees to balance voting. Because one important thing in parliament is voting. We must reduce our decisions into voting. That's where you have the ayes have it. So we are, for purposes of this meeting today, you are going to present to a committee. But I mean, Dr. Mina, I think they should appear like they are parliamentarians who are sitting in the committee to present to the chair. I'm the chair. Okay, clap for your chair. So those who are this way, while these other persons can go back, don't finish, we come back here. Okay. Incidentally, if I'm not mistaken, they are all ESCO members duly elected by their reps, so that made them qualified to be in the chamber. Am I correct? Yes. So that for yourself, the ESCO member. That's this committee member. Committee member. I'm chairing. So this is climate change committee. Environment. So what do you want them to sit here? Yes, okay. Next question. Come close. Come close. So just adjust. Just adjust for him. After this session, he will return back this. Now, for those of you who are going to do presentation before the committee, you address me as chair and member of the committee. Then you go straight to your presentation. The committee will ask you questions on what you are presenting. Where you have issues, feel free to discuss with us because you are now presenting us as a committee. So who is starting?
Well, to the chair and the committee, let's focus on what we came here to do. Climate change and how it's affecting us. It affects our health. It affects us physically. It affects our health and the other things that we do. It might affect us unknowingly. Like I said before, an estimated 1 to 6 deaths, which are premature, are caused each year because of what? Pollution. And in my school particularly, what I would say is very rampant is refuse dumping. People can easily eat things and throw the wraps on the floor. They can easily take their drinks and a dustbin will be right in front, and then they decide to ignore it. And they are oblivious to the fact, well, I wouldn't say oblivious, but ignorant to the fact that leaving those wastes on the floor can lead to flood, which will affect their health, which will also affect them physically. Another thing that leads to climate change and disruption of the ecosystem is leaving carbon footprints. I'm sure in a quite number of schools, whether government or private, not everyone uses cars like their parents' cars, but many of us use taxis. And frequent use of those taxis can leave out carbon footprints. Even burning of tires or burning of refuse dumps can also leave out those carbon footprints. So what I'd like to propose to everyone here is that we're not children, we're teenagers. So I'm sure, even if it's not everyone, we all have access to social media, and we can use those access that we have to try and empower the community, to make them aware, even our fellow peers. We could do it in a one-on-one conversation, or we could reach to them through social media and make them aware of their actions and how it's impacting not only their lives, but the lives of others as well. So that's one thing I'd like to propose, not only to the chair, but also to the committee.
Beautiful presentation. Let me quickly say this. We as a parliament, Rivers State House of Assembly, we have a law already existing, actually assented to by the governor of Rivers State, Dumping of Waste Prohibition Law 2021. That law prohibits the of waste illegally. And let me say this, as a member of the committee, now you go back to your own constituency, which is your class, your school, and let them know that there is a law that prohibits that. And that if you violate that law, there are penalties attached to it. Some you go to prison, some with option of fine. The reason why a lot of persons are doing what they are doing is because they are not aware. Now you are aware as a representative of your people. Let them know that that act itself is criminal. Thank you. Next person.
It's not the extinction of green life, but it can also lead to some environmental disorders, even the littering of the environment. So the solution which I actually put to the committee is that we should
do what? Can we give you some time? Let us let person do, then you.
Okay, good day, committee. Okay, what I want to talk on is on flooding. My school is CSS Abloma. And about flooding, there's a particular time this year when natural disaster happened in my school. And if that occurs, actually learning for that day is over. So flooding is actually one of the most most disadvantage we are having in our school, and lack of drainage is one of the problems causing that the flood. Now, the flood is caused by lack of drainage, in the sense that all the drainage being installed in my school has been blocked by refuge, and this is because of we the students not being able to stop a refuse dump, a particular refuse dump in our school, which is still not found in my school. And about this flooding, it is one of our most challenging in our school, which can lead to which can lead to
Which can lead to what? It must lead to something today. If you go to the House of Assembly and all the things I say doesn't lead to anything, you will not have a reverse.
It will lead to lack of learning for the students, and that will.
The environment will not be habitable for learning.
Yeah, and most of the refuse that we are born is caused by lack of dump store where we drop our refuse, which is not to be found in our schools.
Good morning. Like my chairman has already mentioned, there is a law prohibiting the dumping of waste in an improper area designated for such. And the implementation is the major problem we have in the state. We make the law, but those of them who are meant to implement the law, those of you who have refused to obey the law that has been so made, because of the problem. Flooding, just like you said, is caused by unnecessary waste disposal. You dispose waste where you're not supposed to dispose them, and at the end of the day, pile up to stop the drainage where the water is supposed to pass. And once it is blocked like that, it will heap up and start creating that flood which you're talking about. Now, the only solution to it is by us identifying where we're going to dump our refuge. The state has done their best. The legislature has done their best by creating the laws for you. It is for you now to designate a special area where it will not interfere with your drainage system. So if that is not done, then because we are going to appoint task force very soon, the government is going to come up with task force that will pursue and ensure the implementation of that law. Once they come up, they will arrest, irrespective of your personality or who you are. They will arrest people who dump refuge on non-designated areas. So that is what I can say. Thank you.
Now, from the chair, I want to add by saying that my colleague has just covered the field, but I want to also state it here very clearly that first motion on flood that we did was in 2019, and I moved the motion. The House resolved on what should be done. Like my colleague said, these laws are there. Resolutions of the House are to be enforced by the Ministry of Environment. It therefore means that as legislators, we have done our enforcement is for the ministry, but compliance depends on all of us. That is why, as a representative of the people today, when you go back, especially you that you are talking about flooding and waste in your school, you guys should be bold in the attention of even your teachers to say, but we are told today that these laws exist. Don't you think that if we violate it in this our school, someday government will come, like my colleague said, during enforcement, through your teachers, your principals, you'll be surprised they will prosecute them. At that point, you go to school, you don't see somebody that will teach you in class. So it's a collective thing. It's like they said sustainability here. The only way we can sustain all of these things we are talking about is when all of us play our roles. Because I have my role as a legislator. We have our own. You also have your own. Everything is not government. Those of us who are responsible citizens should talk to those who don't understand that these things, this effort are complementary. So I think you were supposed to conclude. Can you conclude so that we can wrap up the session? Okay.
Hey everyone. We all know that climate action is really harmful to the society, but specifically, I want to talk about ones that are being rampant in school. Right now in school, like one thing that is always rampant is littering. People love littering. Like after eating, they just throw away it without even thinking of putting it in the trash. I think the management noticed that they set waste bins everywhere, but still that after someone finish eating, they'll still like drop it on the floor in the classroom. Meanwhile, around you is the waste bin, but they won't make use of the waste bin. I think to them it's because of ignorance. And secondly, cutting down of trees, deforestation. Like now, presently, majority of the trees that usually give shelter and keep the environment fresh has been cut down. To me, I feel that maybe they think the trees are too old and can fall anytime and cause major injuries, but they don't know that they are really actually caused a big problem because carbon has been lost, which is really helpful to us here in society.
Beautiful submission too. I'm proud to announce to you now that there is an amendment bill in the forestry law of Rivers State. We are to present it in the next city. I'm privileged to be one of the persons to sponsor that particular amendment. That is what we are doing consciously. We are looking at the laws we have. Amend where we need to amend, where we need to make more laws, new laws. Like all of these are submission here today. When we go back as a committee, we will sit and look at what do we need to do further than what we have done. So when you talk about deforestation, I agree with you because this year I was to plant tree on the World Environment, but I was in Buri with High Prep, another program. So I asked the clerk of the committee to go there and we planted some trees. Last year we did the same thing, but it's not enough. So when you also go back to your schools, tell your teachers or your principals, hey, that we agreed here today that schools should plant trees because that is the end thing. When people talk about sustainability of climate change adaptation, like my friend who gave us the lecture earlier, he said, it's only tree planting that is sustainable, that is answering to this question. And don't forget, it's a global problem. What we are doing here today, like Dr. Ina said, people are doing it all over. But I want us to take the lead in this part of the world. That's why before the Rivers State House of Assembly today, we have a bill for domestication of the Climate Change Act. The Climate Change Act is an act of parliament passed by the National Assembly. And the only way you can have a legal instrument in our state is to domesticate that Climate Change Act. And it's already before the House. We are doing public hearing in July, second week of July. Hopefully, after public hearing, we are sure that we'll pass it into law. And we are proud to also say that our governor is a responsible and responsive governor in quote. He will assent to it. The minute we do that, this state will be the first state. The youth are going to speak on it. The first state to domesticate that act. And there are several benefits that will come to the state, especially on the issue of climate change. So, Dr. Mina, you are aware of this fact, and I'm sure that you also report to your people that we are taking the lead. Thank you.
Okay, please. You can't take the lead and clap like that. Clap properly for the leader. And now you're going to be asking, but we wanted 2 minutes. 2 minutes, please. Okay, so we want you to see a real life motion being, we watch. I hope. Can you see from where you are?
Hold on.
Can you see from where you are?
Please hold on.
Okay, so you are going to see him in action in real life. And for those who 5 years, 10 years from now will be in the House of Assembly, I hope you remember this day. Okay, so clap for them for being able to come here and share this moment with us. Now, watch in like it's just a 2 minutes video for you to see a real life vision being passed, which I'm sure most of you have not witnessed before. So, and you're hearing now how it is done from himself, as well as your questions that you're going to ask. So, I'm looking forward to note it, because for those who are taking the exam, you're going to be writing all these observations as part of your whatever. Now, this is just, let's see, that's what you're putting on, right?
Yeah.
And if you have your questions, note them, because we're going to answer as many as they can manage before they go, because of the time that they have. So they'll be able to take on those questions, and then you'll be able to know better how these issues are presented and how they are acted upon.
She's not done.
Immediately after this, we'll go into our strike, because you're going to strike. You're going to tell them one word, what you want them to do in one sentence, and that is when all of you will have to go the strike. Let them go with the message. You understand? So you are going to formally strike. And so we record in Rivers State that the students, the youth in Rivers State have participated in the climate strike. You have to present one issue strategically. Okay? So these are the kind of things that you do quickly for a leave. Okay, so should we, while you're trying to get, so we're going to be getting the questions while we are waiting for, because I'm seeing that you cannot minimize when you're recording, but I'm sure there'll be a way out. But while we are waiting for the way out, please, let's have our questions and get your numbers, because in the house are usually very organized. Yes, sometimes they'll shout, and I'm not going to talk about those that throw chairs, but I'm going to at least talk about those that do things in an ideal way. Should be learning the ideal method, but not talking about the other way now. Okay, so yes, number one. Who else? 2, 3, I'm calling, you're calling to your number. And sweet, 1 minute will not even reach before you finish your question. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you're going to be called according to your numbers. Not more than 50 seconds to ask your questions, okay? Number 1.
The countdown trees everywhere because of our fast-growing population. So what if you increase farming? Because it's solving hunger and photosynthesis, we're actually taking carbon. And it's a good way, that's number 1. Number 2, if you forget to say there's a designated area for dumping refuse and everybody now comply, what happens to refuse? Because later we still have to but we still have to burn the refuse. So what should be now? Everybody keep on dumping refuse, simply refuse to pile up, and to probably lead to another thing. Future, another issue. So what will happen to the revenue and what can we do?
Number 2. Let's answer before we forget. Oh, really? Well, we have, you know what is called Rwanda. It's an agency of government that is responsible for waste management in the state. And there is a law that regulates their activities. That law empowers them to get dump sites. Not one. They share Rivers State into zones. So those who are in a particular zone, they dump it at a particular point. Just last, is it not 2 weeks now, the government just formed a task force to head that agency. Last week, they have done publication for those who are going to be recruited as vendors and be responsible for waste and all of the ancillary issues, because it is not possible. They share them into zones, and they use compactors to carry them to the dump site. I'm aware that efforts are on the way for recycling of those waste. It will be used to better our lives, because that is what people are doing in civilized societies. Thank you. Question 2. The cutting of trees, yes, like I told you, we are going to amend that law, the forestry law, to prohibit illegal cutting of trees.
So why can't we increase farming so that we are combating carbon and we are also providing food for?
What you are saying is that there should be improvement on the farming system. I think that's the point you are trying to make. I'm also aware that the federal government is doing something about agriculture to improve agriculture, to mechanize farming. That will make food available. Even in the state, the governor is also doing something about it. Are you okay?
Okay, number 2.
2.
I want to talk about the black suit. So how can we show black suit?
How can we show black suit? Okay, number 3.
No, let me answer.
Okay, black suit. Okay.
We as legislators, the governor came up with a policy that every area they are operating illegal bunkering should be stopped. And we move around the whole state, 23 local government, to ensure that it was complied with. But the problem we have, your question, to be very direct, to answer your question, how do we stop black suit? It is by complying to what the government is saying. The government has asked everyone involving themselves in illegal bunkering to stop. But because we've seen it as a means of livelihood, people refuse to stop that. That's why we're still having black suit more, especially in River State. In other states, it's not prevalent, but in River State, you can stop it. I've been to areas where it is already legalized. People are, the entire community, families, and everyone is involved in doing it. While we were taxed to go around the whole states, and there was a pretense, pretended as if they are going to stop it. They are doing it. When we left, they went back to the same thing. That's why we're still having black suit. Though, if you look at the volume, it has reduced drastically based on the way we enforced the policy of the governor. Thank you very much. I think this can answer your question.
So does this, you are aware now that we have an AKA suit bill. So will the suit bill help in further reducing?
Yes, it will, because that bill you are talking about is not a law, it's been passed, it will soon be assented to. It was a bill that seeks to amend the River State Protection Management Law, number 7, 2019. I make bold to say that the amendment, the most important amendment in that law, bill then that is now law, is the penalty section. That penalty section is very clear. And he's saying if you continue to do anything that will cause in the state or River State, you will go to prison for 7 years and the option of 5. It's a stiffer punishment that is embedded in that said law. So that is a direct, deliberate policy of government to stop, like you said. And let me say this, and to place it on record. It was an executive bill brought by the governor himself. To the glory of God, as an assembly, we have passed it. So I'm aware that a lot of persons who are engaged in those activities, they are now aware and they are staying away from it. So we'll get there. Thank you. So next question.
Yes. Okay. So give us 2 seconds to watch. Let's watch the 2 minutes video so that you can. I hope you can manage to see from where you are. Okay. And you write your notes on your observation, because these are the areas we're going to question you on even when you go.
Lawmakers interrupt the motion as apt while restricting the urgent attention.
Is that where your speaker is? Where is your speaker? Somebody come. Wait. Okay, I'm hearing it. That's
still very low. Not even so on the video. Prediction by the Nigerian Meteorological Agency was formally presented by the member representing Buchanan constituency.
That's the presentation of
for the environment.
It was a motion, not
because scrap the motion as apt while restricting the urgent attention.
Where the sound is coming up. This one is.
You know I'm all of them.
You know that I'm watching you like so that are you putting it from there now?
They are watching their own.
It's like yes, you can watch it from
Maybe you need to put the mic there.
Okay, put the mic.
Okay. So they want you to improve.
If you have your phone, you can actually watch it. If you have your phone, you can watch it.
The political party and ethnicity.
Let's start it. Start.
From your end.
It's because the other one is louder.
Motion, which came as a response to the prediction of the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, was formally presented by the member representing Buchanan constituency, who doubles as the House Committee Chairman on Environment, Jumle Mao. Deliberating on the issue, lawmakers described the motion as apt while restricting the urgent attention it deserves.
These local governments that have been projected and affected by this government. The effects can only be imagined. It will destroy properties, businesses, means of livelihood, and in most cases, lives.
Speaker of the House, Kunyo Wajibani, while responding to the various issues raised in the course of the debate, noted that the issue at hand requires the attention of the federal government through its interventionist agencies, adding that it is the primary obligation of government to protect the lives and property of its citizens, irrespective of their political party and ethnicity.
If our constitution said that just law that also gives protection. Similarly, our governor said has left alone so far now we got other interventions and other government. One other says something.
On his part, House Committee Chairman of Emergency and Disaster reiterated the importance of having a state-owned agency.
Wow, give a round of applause to technology. For what you have seen, you know, the beauty about it is that you're still going to watch it because it's recorded, it's going to be saved online, and it's going to be accessed anytime. That's the power of technology. So what you're seeing now, you will see it again when we are doing the as long as the internet stays, this information will not be hidden. That is the power of technology. And you can move from the problem. You remember your advocacy rules. What's advocacy rule number 1? What do you talk about first? What do you talk about first? Second? Third? Do you understand? So those are the kind of, you see the way he presented the matter, and the matter now was addressed on the floor of the house. So these are the kind of things. So you have just 2 seconds for all your remaining questions. Number 4, I think. Number 4 was your question. 1 second, I want to hear your question. Number 5, 6, and 7, and then we're done. Yes?
So we can see those, there are places that are meant for dumping of food. So when people go there to dump their waste, there's some men that we usually call aboki. They'll come and scatter refuse dumps there, and it leads to littering of our roads. So my question is that what can be done to those men for scattering those refuse?
Thank you. They are called scavengers. The truth is, like my colleague said, government will form a task force. It will be the responsibility of the task force to ensure the compliance with what the law says.
The government will form a task force, so it's more like you have actually noticed this problem, and they want to work on the problem. So just laugh.
You made mention of some places. Now, I want to ask, in some places in Port Harcourt, you see where people don't on the road and dog. So this road, is it actually one of these allocated for the dumping of refuse? If yes, is it not looking bad and somehow for just like that was for which refuse to be dumped to be dumped? And if no, why still dumping refuse and somehow embarrassing?
Yes. Okay, the last question. There's somebody.
No, let me answer that. Okay, good question. You see, when people dump those refuse contractors come to pick them up, and they have time when you are supposed to dump their refuse there. I think it's 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. So that by the time you wake up in the morning, contractors are supposed to evacuate them to the dump site. Anywhere you see the refuse the following day means the contractor responsible for that area did not do their work.
Reptiles like snakes. So like
they do fumigation. I'm sure that there's a department in the Ministry of Agriculture. It's their responsibility to fumigate. But the truth is, can the government go around the local government to fumigate in your own local communities? I also know that in local government areas, they have an agriculture department where you have supervisory council for agriculture and all. What government can do, we have councillors at the level who are representative of it. We will look for a way to reach out to them so that those days we used to have ADP in all the local governments. These days, I don't know what is happening. But I think that your point is very important. Yes, we agree that we need to plant trees, but let it not be home for reptiles and some of those dangerous things that become a problem. I think government should take very serious concern about, should note their concern. It's well noted. We'll talk about it.
The last question will go. Are you not sure? You're ready, right? Are you ready? Because we're giving you this chance to make sure you go back without.
Okay, so I said something about this agri department about agri students, and it's not. Since I was in SS1, it has been our dream as agri students to plan it. We have told our teachers that has passed on with us. They have also encouraged, but the problem is funding. That is budget of it. we have written a letter to management.
Yeah, what is that?
Yes, Young Farmers Club.
Young Farmers Club.
Yes, we have it.
And you want to plant trees.
Yes.
What you are saying is that you need support.
Yes.
To plant trees in your school.
Yes.
Well noted. Okay.
Then second,
through Dr. Muna.
yes. Then second, you said something about cutting of this environmental club about cutting of trees. Doesn't that we have to eradicate it completely, like stopping cutting of trees completely? Because these books we are using is actually from trees and many other things. The energies, I don't know, furniture we are using. Should we eradicate stopping and should we stop cutting of trees completely or reduce it? I don't know.
No, we are encouraging planting of trees. We need more of the trees now. So, no, we are not discouraging planting, but we are discouraging those who are doing deforestation. It means that we need more trees.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
That, I know we need trees, but I'm saying that doesn't mean that we have to stop them.
For every tree you cut, you plant a new one now. That is our rule. Let's go. For every tree you cut, you plant a new one now. So if you are cutting, you know that there's deforestation. You must be matched with what? Afforestation. And the more the afforestation, even the better.
And then adding to what our Honorable and have said, there is what we call flooring. Okay, and then apart from that, there is this sustainable agricultural practices when it comes to cutting down of trees. If let's say people in the village they need tree for firewood, right? Instead of cutting it down totally, you have the branches. And why focusing on the branches, you also plant. So before you totally bring down a tree, not even for every tree but you plant a new one. Before you bring down a tree, let there be an already established one growing up that serves as a sustainable replacement so that we will not feel the impact that there is no tree at all. Because once you cut down, the new one you plant, you're not even sure if it will survive or not. I'm understood. So while you are cutting, in fact, before you even engage in the process, why start from the branches, you are doing the flowering process, you are already planting to make sure that the nursery is established, the stem and the roots have been established in the soil and can withstand high heat waves, high storms, or wind waves. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to do something real quick. 3 things real quick. And these 3 things are things that we need to do because our legislators have been able to afford us their time and we cannot not take any more considering they have another schedule. But let's do these 3 things real quick and then we'll see that we can continue even after the day. Now you are going to be involved in the climate strike. We're going to strike right now and present our matters to the House and let them hear from us what the matters are. Whatever you are holding is what sorry, this is for one of them. We are going to do that real quick. We're going to strike real quick, and then we're going to do the group photographs so that we can give them the opportunity to go. When you talk about strike, right now, Germany is striking, US is striking, everybody is striking, their young people are striking, Nigerians cannot be left out. So we are striking with our leaders here, and they will respond to as many of the strikes that they can, even if it's 1 or 2. But note what you're striking. For example, the ethics are only home. Join us to protect it. MPs are the ethics are only home. We need you to join us to. You know what I'm saying? This one is, you understand? So note what you pick, and you're talking to your MP, and with passion, they are here and are going to respond in summary before we take the group photograph, and then they leave. It is one of the most precious moments to me, and I'm hoping that within this, we can't do everything in just 1 hour or 2 hours. So as we go on, we'll learn more ways of addressing this situation. Who doesn't have? Okay, so if you don't have, you have people that have them. Be bold. I don't want if you see our legislators, they are not talking like, when I just came back, they would just, if this how they talk in the assembly, no bill will be passed. They'll just be sitting down and then they finish and they collect money and then go. No, but they don't. You have to speak. Now you've learned how to behave like a parliamentarian, speak like a parliamentarian, present like a parliamentarian. Not, I just thought that no shyness in, but you want to present the problems of your people and you're shy about it. Who brought that parliamentarian to this house? Take them back to the village. You understand? If you are going to be seated in the chamber, you must be bold enough to present the needs of your people in a very strategic way. Am I communicating? So you're going to talk about striking, and you're not striking as if you're begging them, please help me.
And you hold it this way.
So hold your striking.
So why we start with the first person, you hold it this way. It may be two to hold it. No, we just take few, very few of them. Okay. So we hold it this way. You stand up. For anybody that will speak, you stand up. You hold it this way and you stand up. So let me start from.
Okay, so but are we all going to stand up?
One.
Okay, one. Because that they know, they have seen everything. That's how sharp. And we have only 2 seconds. So let's start from here. Yes, let's start from here. And make sure, just know what you have written and be bold enough to present it to the House. Sorry. And we'll live with them for at least 3 minutes so don't waste our time. MPs are help restore our health. Whatever, face, you're not speaking to yourself.
Dear legislatures, please help us restore our health.
Dear legislature, ban illegal oil bombing in River State and Nigeria at large.
Dear legislature, Domesticated Climate Change Act now.
No, that English was the correct. You speak wrong English in the house, we send you out. Domesticate the Climate Change Act now. One.
Domesticate Climate Change now.
Yourself, strike. You're striking.
No, Domesticate Climate Change Act now.
Dear Parliament, urge our local government areas to sign the clean air sources information. It's a sign. It's a sign that breathing clean air is a human right. We need a source.
Please, just for emphasis, when you are striking, you are holding it this way.
So you're learning. When you're striking,
and you are bold and you are positive.
Like now, they're going to show us an example. They will strike for us since we don't want to strike for them. So join this Zero Suit campaign. Ms. MP, we call on you to support us as we mobilize to join the Zero Suit campaign. You understand? Okay, so good. Let's see who else is.
We urge the legislators to support the drive for a zero suit for River State.
Okay, so this is going to be the last slide. Dear MPs, go. Are you not reading? Okay, so I want somebody who is going, the last person that will do that now. Yes, come and strike.
Dear legislators, no better time to face our forces fell than now. Crude oil shouldn't be relied on. Agriculture is sustainable and profitable.
Agriculture is what sustainable, and the last but not the least.
Yeah, MPs, climate action begins with you. This is why we voted into power, to relay our problems to the government. Thank you.
Okay, give ourselves a round of applause. We're going to have a 2 minutes response from them and a group photograph, and I think this phase of it, we can let them go. So we continue our strike. The strike has not ended. We'll continue our strike because our chairman is here as well and every other thing.
Thank you. We've heard all your cries. The bill is already on the floor of the House. In accordance with the climate change, we are trying to domesticate the act that has already been enacted at the National Assembly in River State. We're making that law. So I'll speak with you. My chairman has already presented the bill, which is in process now. Thank you. I think the bill, the suit, we have a law against illegal bunkering in River State, and whoever that is caught. In fact, it has been criminalized. Anyone involved in illegal bunkering has been criminalized already. You go to jail without an option of fine. Some you pay the fine and still go to jail. So at this point, I will hand over to my chairman to wrap it up for us. Thank you.
Like working with Honorable Lolo when he's also a lawyer, my colleague. You see, I'm very passionate about climate change. The last person said something. Was it the last person? That young man there said you voted for us to represent you and take your concerns to the government. You are very, very important. And I'm charged more than ever on this issue of climate change and suits. I assure you, the days to come, you'll see that we'll double our efforts to ensure that all of these things you have presented to us, we shall do our best to attend to all of them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so stand up and take your pledge, the Club 17 Africa pledge, and we're going downstairs fast to take a group photograph with them. Do you remember your pledge? Do you remember your pledge? Okay, hold and take your pledge. Hold and take your pledge. Let's go. 1, 2, go.
I pledge to be a tool for change, a tool to share the SDGs, a tool to make the world a better place. I pledge to build a peaceful and prosperous society, a society with a sustainable future for generations to come. So help me God.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to run real quick downstairs. Oh yeah, by the time I count 3, you're all downstairs. We'll take a group photograph with him. Fast, fast, fast. Take your placards with you. If you don't have a placard, take a board and we'll take them. In the chamber, they don't steal. So we just take your distance, and then you go immediately. We're going to take real quick, down, fast. So make sure you reach down before them. Coordinators, please, downstairs. Somebody go down, go down, sorry.
I'll find you.
And I'm also the president of Africa Brand.
Oh, sir, why this initiative? Why for this student?
Fantastic. You know, we have a climate action group that we call it the climate change group. And the climate change group comprises of all students across the world, across Nigeria, across the university. And these clubs, we are teaching them not only to be club members, but teaching them proactive steps on how they can carry out legislative process. How do they ask? How do they demand? You have to understand how to design and implement policy and ask for action. So part of the skills for student communication, quite a lot of things. We want it to be a very practical process. So for today, after we have taken them to advocacy and all related to it, and teaching them not even beyond teaching as you can see, but had a live interaction, live engagement from the parliament themselves, and how to demand, on how to present their issues, on how to agree and disagree, and to be able to get them to present certain policies and also conduct this climate study. So these are people that in the future, somebody somewhere amongst them.
From what I've observed, your organization is concerned about calling for action for change. Yes. What necessary actions do you take?
Okay, so this is one first things first. You can see that one of the steps we have taken is to mainstream youth participation in preventing themselves from being used for illegal work. None of these students that were accepted to use illegal work because they have been so taught and they have been so trained and the values have been so significant. So one thing we're doing is mainstreaming youth participation, saying no to environmental pollution and saying no to illegal work. Number two, we're working on policy because you cannot carry out an activity without it being enshrined or without no policy. So we have what we call the National Action Plan on Gender and Climate Change. We have what we call the AKA bill now, which is being put away by Accenture to create awareness on that issue. So people will, run away from, being criminals and carrying out this criminal activity. Also have right now to have presented to the club now the climate change. So we don't have the state climate change. All these steps are steps taken to not only enshrine it in policy, but also make sure that things to be enforced. The judiciary will take care of that part of the enforcement. And if the criminalized process, the judiciary will take care. So all arms of government are involved, working with society, working with Africa, and as we have this. So it is not one size fits all process. It's a multi-dimensional, multi-faceted approach to the multi-faceted problem. Because you have seen that some people feel this is their livelihood. So what we want to do, we are calling on government to create an enabling environment for employment of young people. It creates an enabling environment for employability of young people. You will discover that when more people are engaged constructively, no matter how attractive destroying their environment may be in quality tech, they will refuse to be involved. And they would rather look for better and cleaner ways of carrying out the same activities. Yes, my name is Dr. Mina Obamba, and I'm the president of the University of Community and the founder of Sentinel.
I'd like to talk from
and how NTA wants to talk to you. Who's going to represent CSS? NTA wants to talk to you. And who's going to represent NDSS? President, come and show yourself. And if you're president, don't hold my hand. I'm not there. Who is the president? CSS. President Abdullah. President NDSS. If you follow our hand, we're not going to talk. Anybody close to the banner to read it out. When you see somebody have here type it out. Who is the president? Okay. Hold on.
Are you serious?
Okay, so we Okay, so students, before we go take our last walk for today, I would like all of you, starting from here. Okay, now when you're listening, when you finish writing, please listen. Listen. When you finish writing, I would like you to also the business back page, just write your name, okay, and you sign here. Are you with me? You write your name and you sign here. So you get to indicate the name of your school first. Name of your school. Yeah. Okay, write the name of your school first. Well, write it here. Yeah, write the name of the school up first. Name of the school first. Capital letter. Name of the school is capital. Okay, so write your name. Yeah. No. Then sign. Yeah. Okay, followed by you. The same thing, your name and your signature. So we are done, we are almost done, but the last part is we are going to strike together. Okay. So we are actually talking about, I wanted to do some deliberations, but I know Justice has done that already. So we'll be doing a video. Please, the people that spoke, can you stand up? The people that spoke, who are the people that, who are the delegates from your school, who are they? Where's the other person of that? Okay, I need the trophy to come out. And then take any placards of your choice. Take any placard of your choice. Okay. I need this table to go in. Okay, good. The trophy should come out. Come out. Here's the third person. Okay, yes. Keep bringing the Hello. Let's talk about the climate change act here. Let's talk about the mitigating climate change act. Across all states. Like I want the MPs to mitigate the climate change act across all states that was signed on the 17th of November 2021. We want someone that will talk about the domestication of the Climate Change Act that was signed into law on the 17th of November 2021. Can anybody see that? Just this is it here. This is yes, yes, that's stuff. And that's to sign it. Please, did you write your school?
Yes.
Did you write your school before you started?
Yes.
Okay, so we want somebody to talk on this. Who can talk on this? Domesticate means bringing it down to states, like bringing it down to the state level. That is not domesticate. It was signed into act in the National Assembly at the federal, in the National House of Representatives at the federal level. So we want it to be brought down to state levels. That states should own it. Who can talk about this?
I can talk. Or you want to do simple now. Let's not talk about it. Come and talk about it. Dear MPs, we are calling on you to domesticate the Climate Change Act University. Who can talk about it? Come and shine for the world. Come across please, for those who are inside, come and line up. Oh, Emil.
The guy here.
Don't appeal to him, just take one.
All you, or we demand climate change act. Okay, so
Okay, hold, I think in a group strike and then we'll each of you pass.
please just stand up with placards.
Then just
Lift it above your head. Yes, just stand up, all of you, so we get to see it this way. Hold it, let it be visible, like let it be facing me. Hold it. Hold it this way. See? For most of these, just stand this way. If it's not visible, bring down your hand, but don't just hold it. Bring it out, let their faces out. Let it not be above your face. Let it not be above your face. Chest level. Some of you should come this way. Chest level. Chest level.
I'm not inside. Why am I not inside? Oh. You got it? Hold on. Dr. Waiting Africa? Please go on behind.
Club 17 Africa.
Please go on behind.
No one behind. I just video now taking pictures. All right, so anybody wants to give a testimonial like what you learned today? So feedback is actually necessary for me. So I do that always. I get feedback from students, from youth, from people I've spoken to. So did you get anything today? What did you learn? Any feedback? So let me start from here.
Well, actually learned new things today on how to solve climatic actions and as well as solving problems in the society and also finding solutions. And I also know how to write a proposal today.
Thank you. So you learned how to write a proposal today. So there was a time that was in last year, I was with some members of parliament as well. Then that was mainly good. Yeah, we have had senators and governors and House of Rep members, and also passed a bill on gender justice, gender and environmental inclusion bill that focuses on how the gender can be mainstreamed in solving climate change issues, since they are also adversely affected by climate change crisis. So who else learned something? So I've taken a female. I have to take a male. You mean right? A female? Yeah. Okay. You guys laughing.
I learned under the climatic problems. And when we throw our waste away, we should keep it in a particular place whereby waste are being dumped, like the bin, so that flood not occur due to block drainage.
Yeah. So I need one last person. Okay, so you're coming to from the
Announce that keeping the environment clean
So environmental cleanliness is key to promoting environmental sustainability. So who else from here?
Highlanders should abide by
Okay, so I'm abiding by rules and regulations. That is interesting. You know, among other things you need to learn, you also need to learn to take responsible action for your environment and the climate. If this is one of the things I tell students, particularly across over 56 states I've been to. I tell them this: if there is something you should know, you shouldn't be saying you are the leaders of tomorrow, you are the leaders of what? Today. You are the leaders of today. Your leadership starts now. Because your tomorrow, your yesterday, or your today, how do I make this sentence for it to come? So okay, so your yesterday was the tomorrow you never saw. Also, yeah, okay, your today is the tomorrow. Your yesterday is, how do I do, this is what I tell students, So okay, let's give this analogy, right? That you are the leaders of tomorrow and the tomorrow is unknown, right? And this is today. So your today is the tomorrow you have not yet seen. Are you with me? Your today is the tomorrow you have not yet what? Seen. And your tomorrow becomes the today you have lived already. That, like your tomorrow becomes the today. I don't know if you get. Yes, your yesterday becomes the today. So that's why I say you are the leaders of what? Today. So each day you go, each tomorrow you meet is your today. Do you get me? Each tomorrow you meet is your what? Today. So nothing like you're the leaders of tomorrow. You are the leaders of today, like your today is now. The tomorrow is the today you are living already. So you have to start taking actions for your environment. I know most of you have not experienced. How many of you have had the first-hand experience of climate change? How many of you have had a first-hand experience of climate change? How many? Okay, a few. Very few, or less than 1%, less than 2% or 5% of the whole population. If you've had a first-hand experience of climate change, you get to know what I'm talking about. It's horrible, it's terrible. You have not seen flood, you've not experienced severe respiratory syndromes or diseases and all that. You've not experienced the effect of air pollution. We only talk about statistics, but we also need to look at people that actually experience these stuff on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so my end point remark today, or end point speech that I'm going to leave with you, is let's stand up. Let's all stand up. Let's all stand up. I did my secondary school in Rivers State. Funny enough. My primary school, secondary school, I studied in GSM. Okay, that's a government secondary school, my senior secondary school actually. So followed them So courtesy call to the governor of Rivers State, and they taught us this was, and I actually recited it. So your hands, this was good, better, best, I know rest, my good becomes better, my better becomes best, my best becomes excellent. You know that's right? How many of you know that? Okay, so if you don't, you have to recite it with me. Good, better, best.
Good, better, best.
May I not rest.
May I not rest.
Until my good becomes better.
Until my good becomes better.
My better becomes best.
My better becomes best.
And my best becomes excellent.
My best becomes excellent.
Let's take that for the last time. Good, better, best.
Good, better, best.
May I not rest.
May I not rest.
Until my good becomes better.
Until my good becomes better.
My better becomes until my good becomes better.
Until my good becomes better.
My better becomes best.
My better becomes best.
And my best becomes excellent.
My best becomes best.
Okay, thank you so much. And then I'll leave you with Dr. Mina right now. So thank you, and then thank you, Dr. Mina, for bringing me down to Rivers State. It's a pleasure, and I'm happy seeing students as well. I know if not Dr. Mina, I wouldn't have come to Rivers State at all. Yeah, so thank you so much, and please.
So I want to thank your humble servant today, who is a team lead you need to link up with. I want to thank you for being able to be here. My dream for the club, my dream is that someday one, all, most, some will be representing us in Belgium, Germany, the US, UK, London, America. Do you understand? You'll be talking, you will remember this day that you remember this day. All the people who are you remember this day, this conversation, and if what is a better way to spend your meeting? You understand? What will you have been doing today? Some of you may have been playing with your parents' phone. Some of you may have been looking for trouble. Some of you may have been calling each other. What is a better way to spend it than what you're doing now? You're not running to go to class, you're running to go back home. And so you've spoken with your legislators for real. Anytime tomorrow you'll be able to tell somebody, yes, I spoke with my legislators. It's a very strategic step. So for me, I find this very, very, very awesome. And I hope people will benefit also from it. This is just the beginning. So far, you are ESCO members of the club. You are going to be experiencing a lot of these things. There are some programs that will come if you win, you're going to represent us across the world. So I need you to be up and about. Your studies, you need to be top notch. Your presentations, you need to be top notch. And I want you to get better by the day. You understand what I mean? So as you go back, we're giving an award for the most mobilized club. That's the club with the highest numbers. Okay, that is number one. Know your clubs and see how you can mobilize to get your club to have the highest number of club members. And your meetings should have started by now. You have your weekly meetings, week 1, week 2, week 3, all those things are important. At the end of the day, to identify a problem that you want to address. If you want to run a garden project in your school, Okorie is an expert in running eco gardens. If you want to run a garden in your school, you can set up gardens in all the schools in the club, all the clubs in the school. We have facilities to support that process. So, but if that is not a priority for your school, meaning that maybe your school doesn't have land, you now have to look for other environmental projects to address. So it depends on what it is. And the competition comes in after your 4th or 5th class. So don't joke with any step that you're taking now. It's my pleasure to see that you had fun. And Abloma and CSS will immediately rush down so that they can join immediately go first. Because yes, it's not so far. Your school is not far from here, right? She doesn't want to go. It's not far, right? Okay, so NDSS can go first. Okay, so NDSS will go first, and then the rest will go with us immediately. So let's pray. Let's pray. Rise up, everybody. Let's pray. Thank you so much, everybody. If you have questions for your club, you want to ask the club masters so that I will know. If there are no questions, you are going to see your name. Have you written your name here? Nobody can. I've written your names. All of you, and we're about to leave. Well, NDSS. Write your name and their qualifications. Is anyone that wrote a name without signing? Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Give me a very fantastic. I know you love me anyway, so everlasting love. Oh, we depend. We love you. We declare our everlasting love for you. So we thank God for everything, and one of you are going to thank God very much.